Well, have you been to Michigan lately? It almost seems like a civil war has started there. Michigan Attorney General Mike Cox is suing the federal government over health care, but that's just the beginning of his fight. He's also in a battle with Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm. Now, Governor Granholm went on the record last night.
As the state attorney general, he represents the state of Michigan as an entity, and I'm his main client. His main client has been one of the governors who's been a co-chair of the governor's task force trying to get this bill through because it helps Michigan. So he wears two hats. He can file on behalf of himself as the attorney general or on behalf of some other entity or the people, but he cannot file on behalf of the state of Michigan. He does not represent me, so I've asked him instead, as my lawyer, to file in that very case on the other side.
Tonight, Attorney General Cox is here with his side of the story. Good evening, sir.
How are you doing, Greta?
I'm very well. So let me ask you, when you have filed suit with several other attorneys generals in the state of Florida, are you doing so, is your client the state of Michigan or the people of Michigan?
Greta, it's the people of Michigan. Under Michigan law, that I, as the Attorney General, can intervene in federal cases on behalf of the interests of the people of Michigan. Because, as you know, never before has the federal government, Congress, or the President forced a consumer, forced a regular citizen as a price of citizenship to buy a product. That is unprecedented use of the Interstate Commerce Clause, and we believe it's unconstitutional.
All right, General, before we even get to that question, though, you've got to be a party in the lawsuit, and I'm just trying to figure out, I learned recently, for instance, in one state, Attorney General has to have permission from the governor or from the state legislature, and didn't have that. But can you go forward? Now, Governor Granholm says that you can't represent the state of Michigan because she's the client then, which I don't fully understand, but that you can represent the people of Michigan. And can you then make your own decision without getting her authorization or your legislature?
Yes. That is by custom. That's been in Michigan for 150 plus years. As she indicated last night, she had prior fights, as it were, with the governor of Michigan, where she took a different side when she was the attorney general. Again, this has been part of Michigan law since we became a state in 1837. And there have been a couple of prior occasions where she and I have been opposite sides of federal cases. In fact, right now, I'm defending a Michigan constitutional amendment to our Constitution in 2006 in federal court where we got rid of racial preferences. And the governor intervened on the other side to support the continued affirmative action of racial preferences in Michigan. So this isn't anything unusual in Michigan law.
All right, I don't want to split hairs, but if I were to pull up that pleading again down in Florida, would it say the state of Michigan, or would it say the people of Michigan? Because I'm just curious, because she says if it says state of Michigan, she's asked you to stop doing that and basically write yourself a letter and tell you to stop doing that.
Oh, it says the state of Michigan, as tens of federal cases that we're part of right now, where I, as the people's lawyer here in Michigan, have intervened on behalf of the state of Michigan. That's under the federal court rules, it's customary that the Attorney General speaks for the state. But given the governor's request, we're going to accommodate her request, and we'll change the caption to say Attorney General Mike Cox on behalf of the people of Michigan. And if she so chooses, she hasn't yet, she can intervene on President Obama's side.
Well, that should probably then settle at least that procedural hurdle for for both of you. You can both then go forward. All right. Now, you are running for governor. Do you have any sort of sense? I know that it's neck and neck, at least the polls that I've seen, that you and Congressman Hoekstra are pretty close in these polls and running for the primary. Do you have any idea, let me ask you, is your decision in part political? Are the people of Michigan behind you on this one or against you?
Well, Greta, like USA Today indicated, the people of America are behind me, as it were. But more importantly, I think I would have made this decision 2 years ago or 3 years ago. The reality is Harry Reid is running for office this year. Nancy Pelosi is running for office this year. All 435 folks in Congress are running for office this year. Philosophically and constitutionally, most importantly, as I said before, never before, and in fact, one of your colleagues at Georgetown Law School, Professor Barnett, has articulated and is supporting our position that never before has Congress been allowed to do what they did here.
All right, and what we're talking about there is whether the mandate itself, ordering people to buy health insurance, is unconstitutional. So have you yet done the research? Let's say hypothetically that you win on that argument, that the mandate is determined to be unconstitutional, that provision. Does that then undermine the entire statute, in fact, the entire health care bill, or just the mandate?
Well, Greta, the federal legislation has a severability clause, which is often the case, where if one part is struck down, the rest of the legislation continues on. But in terms of the funding, you know, I haven't seen the numbers, the internal numbers that the Obama administration has, but I expect this was part of the funding mechanism. As Speaker Gingrich went over, there's some funky accounting here, some cookbooks that the Obama administration used to push this through. But I expect that they are counting on the mandate to help provide some of the revenue that they need to make their numbers, to the extent that they do work.
All right, Attorney General. Thank you, sir. And we'll be watching, of course. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.